Welcome to you both. Eric Yu, CEO of Metaverse DNA, Alex Lightman, futurist, writer. Alex, I really want to talk about your latest Lightman report on decentralized finance, or DeFi as it's called in the walk of life. You talked about 12 areas of DeFi, basically. Now, I know that we heard that COVID-19 boosted all these developments. Which of those areas do you think are going to be the first growth areas for blockchain and crypto environments? If we look specifically at these 12.
Sure. I think the first one is payments, because of fast peer-to-peer trustless transactions. People will want that. And we're told not to use cash because money is infected with COVID-19. And so people are going to also, when you have half the world on lockdown, including probably people who account for 70, 80% of the world's GDP, they're not handing money over, so they're using online apps. So this is the perfect time for crypto to come to the rescue and help people with their payments. And I've seen people do their summaries of their payments, how much they're spending, and anything that can reduce the fees out there. Payday loans are 780% or so. A second thing is lending, because these payday loans of 780%, I mean, we should be loaning our crypto out to each other. We in the crypto industry, if it's just you have crypto sitting there, don't have it just be dead crypto, have it be loaned out to people. Also, we want decentralized exchange because of the reliability and the independence and the speed. And we don't want people front running. You don't want people to see your orders, then buy before you buy or sell before you sell. And we can get out of that with decentralized exchanges. I don't think there's I've never heard of front running from a decentralized exchange. And then finally, digital identity. We need that because we're all now anonymous to each other. We're not looking in each other's eyes. We're not appearing on cameras. We need really good digital identity. So those are the 4 areas I would choose.
Yeah, Eric, if we look at your latest developments for Metaverse DNA, how do you see that Metaverse DNA can cover these areas of things like digital identity, like peer-to-peer lending, like transactions and payments? I thought there was a vital point in Alex, what you just said, about just being ahead of the market. We all know that stock exchanges in the traditional space take advantage of all, I would say, ordinary people like you and me with big computers to just go ahead, and fix the trade and to their advantage, basically. So how do you see the role of Metaverse DNA in these developments?
It's interesting that what Alex mentioned was almost exactly what I thought. It's very important because if you look at the roadmap of DNA, we actually designed a decentralized exchange into the DNA main chain. So the decentralized exchange will come with DNA. So it's like inbuilt, and it's not only a decentralized exchange. It also has the lending capacity, so you can lend your crypto out. But in terms of payment, I think I'm a little slightly different from Alex. Probably Alex think the same way, but I think you probably shouldn't use Bitcoin as the payment method, because I really think Bitcoin or Ethereum or a DNA or a ETP should be just crypto assets, right? So you don't go out buy a coffee with gold. I think Bitcoin is more like gold. So when we say payment, like electronic payment, I think more important stable coin, and actually stable coin probably will be going along with the lending facility. So the borrowing and lending on the market, decentralized exchange, it's actually combined together, very tight knit. So I think it's actually pretty excited to wait DNA to go online.
If you look at what you just said about, stablecoin taking a primary role in, I would say, basically borrowing, lending, are you then saying that actually assets like cryptocurrency should be a collateral to these stable coins? Or how do you see a stable coin in a decentralized sense?
Well, to me, crypto assets like Bitcoin are assets. So I think any assets can be collateral. And since we're on blockchain already, so why don't we just use, I call it native blockchain assets like Bitcoin or Ether, like DNA, to you as the collateral, right? So I think USDT kind of using that methodology, but they're centralized. And so when you are centralized, then a lot of bad thing can happen. So if we have a decentralized way of collateralize the digital asset and make them become make the stable coin out of the collateralized the crypto assets, will be beautiful, beautifully designed.
Well, I think it will be a paradigm, a massive change in the way that we look towards borrowing and lending in the traditional sense of the world, even in mortgaging. And people don't get, in the traditional way, they don't get any interest more in their savings. So there will be people looking for other opportunities that will sort of come together now with all the new developments that we see. A lot of things come now together, creating a whole new era, basically. There's, on the one hand, you don't get anything on your savings. You have to pay, even in Europe, to have your savings in a bank account. On the other side, people want more freedom, more security. They want to know who they're dealing with. They want to get out of these centralized grips where they feel powerless, basically. So a lot of these things come together. So I think the next months, even the next 2 years, will be an exciting time and a whole new development going on. So Alex, I know it's hard to predict stuff. We don't do that these days anymore after we had the whole COVID-19 situation.
I do.
Yeah, I know it's your job to look forward as a futurist. But if you're talking economic numbers, okay, we still have the crypto space as, I would say, a minor drop in the ocean of worldwide GDP. So if you look at these developments, what's your prediction as to the amount of the economic picture it will take, let's say, in the next 2 to 5 years? What do you think in numbers? What will it do?
Sure. Well, CoinMarketCap says that the market cap of all crypto today, and remember, there are now 5,700 cryptocurrency coins, tokens, is $247 billion. And we've done 159 billion in volume. I think it's pretty safe to predict that by the end of the year, that the market cap will be over 500 billion, and that within 4 years, it'll be over $1 trillion, which would mean new highs. So the peak crypto total market value was about 800 billion. That was at the peak 2 years ago or so, when Bitcoin the Kuwaitis were grabbing the Bitcoin futures at 25,000 for a Bitcoin, and they overreached. I think that in the Lightman report, I referred to a milestone, a big milestone of $1 billion worth of Ethereum in contracts that's all locked up for DeFi applications, primarily lending. I think that it took us 11 years to get there. I think it'll take us 11 months to double that, to get to the next billion. And I think that we're going, so that's going to, and then next year, we might even see it go to 11 weeks, because we're going to have people being afraid of hyperinflation of digital currencies, because you have this dollar liquidity crisis, and then you have just Congress, every time they're meeting, they're arguing right now over trillions of dollars. And I worked for the US Senate, and I remember when we thought it was such a big joke to say, Everett Dirksen, who has a building named after him in Capitol Hill, $1 billion here, $1 billion there, pretty soon you're talking about real money. Now that sounds like chump change. $1 trillion here, $1 trillion there, pretty soon you're talking about hyperinflation. And when you hear the words hyperinflation, your brain should go, I got to go into crypto, because crypto doesn't have unknowns like fiat does. You, in general, will know the supply, you know the emission rate, or you know the background of the entrepreneurs, you know something that makes it more controllable. So I can just see a lot of people taking even a tiny fraction of their assets and putting it in crypto, but even a tiny fraction of the 380 trillion worth of assets in the world are going to plump up that 249 billion number of crypto.
We could have an interview at the end of the year to see if we make that 500. I mean, it will be a very interesting development, because
do I get a prize?
We can discuss that. No, I was referring to situations in countries with hyperinflation due to the local economic circumstances, and you saw that the price of Bitcoin was substantially higher than in other regions of the world to actually get it for the local currency. Because by the time that they bought it for the local currency, the guy that's selling the Bitcoin, was already taking a loss, basically.
We saw like they called it in Korea when crypto was trading for more in Korea than outside, the kimchi premium. And now we have what I guess we call the falafel premium, because Bitcoin in Lebanon, as Lebanon's pound is collapsing, it's almost double last time I looked.
I think we have seen some countries in South America with the same effects.
Okay.
It's not good. I mean, the local circumstances invite that, and that's always the situation with hyperinflation. Nobody's happy about that.
I think it's not too hard to predict things. Let me make a bold prediction as well.
Okay.
I think within 2 years after this COVID-19 situation, at least one country's currency will fail. I think the number can go as high as 10.
I think you're right, because we saw an example in South America we all know about, where a complete currency actually failed, and it took them 10 years to recover from that. And they're, looking at another disaster right now. If we look at a completely different angle of cryptocurrency and blockchain development, in the past it has shown that it's the gaming industry that has become big because they like the peer-to-peer activity. Eric, now, if you see, is it going to be more accessible in the decentralized situation? How do you see this peer-to-peer playing this whole thing in the gaming industry?
It's interesting that I heard so many things about gaming industry these days. I don't know if you guys follow the news that CNN Anderson Cooper interviewed the mayor of Las Vegas, that these two are actually arguing about, should they open Las Vegas like early, right? The Cooper says, no, you can't do that, right? The mayor says, no, everybody losing their job. We need to reopen casino, everything. But, I mean, they're both right, and I think they're both wrong. So the mayor of Las Vegas, they want to open casino, but local people, they don't really play in the casino. You need people from other state of U.S. to come in to play. There's nobody to come in.
They can fly.
What's the point to open the casino when you have all the other states locked down, right? And the other news I heard was Macau. This, I think, is the month of April. They lost 96% of their business. Yeah. So year over year, 96% of the business. Actually, the funny thing was, I had a lot of friends there actually in Macau. They've been doing online gaming like 2 years ago, and they're seeing a huge upward surge in terms of online gaming. And they say, hey, Eric, can I put my business onto your DNA chain? I said, yes, technically. Where I endorse that, no, but since it's decentralized, I can't really say no to you. So do whatever. Now, guess what? There's a project actually created their online gaming project on top of my ETP chain, and last month.
What's it called?
It's called Apollo.
Okay.
Apollo, and interestingly, it's I think that they approved by SEC. It's what do you call this? It's a STO, secured token. They have their approval from SEC. I was like, wow, this is something. I said, if you want to put on ETP chain and later on move to DNA chain, by all means. It's decentralized, not my call.
So actually, I think this is quite a premiere. We didn't know about that. So the game's called Apollo, and
no, the project called Apollo, and I don't even know their casino name. Actually, I'll find out later.
We should be doing a release on that one, Eric, and tell you're going to have a game on the decentralized system. I think it's the advantages that of decentralized, people can have their own decentralized gaming going, and if it's SEC approved, it will be able to do it with things that are considered currencies, no matter take shape or whatever form.
Yeah.
So I think a major step, if you are able to get them online, we should do a bit of marketing about that one. That's an
well, you know what they collateralized as the casinos in Vietnam and Myanmar and South Korea. So they use the physical land and the casino, the building on top of it to collateralize the project. I was like, okay, sure.
That's good. It's got something backing it up in hard, actually tangible assets, which is a different situation. So what they actually did is they tokenized the building, they tokenized the land, and with that token, they started the game. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, it is. It is.
That's great. It's different than when you create just a token to play with, and there is no value behind it.
Well, that's why they call themselves STO, right? Secure token offering.
We have to do a press release on that one and have a closer look at it to see what it's like, because on decentralized, there's not much going. The main players in the market are centralized with licensing in countries like Malta and Curacao and other countries, which is basically a traditional casino, but then online, and it's a very big market. So, it's the first start, centralized gaming.
Yeah.
I think it's good people have a choice, and it's actually backed. So it's really good that they got the SEC approval on their STO. I mean, that's a great start. It sort of creates credibility, and that there's overview, and that they're signed for, permit on it. It's great news. I don't want to keep you guys any longer. We promised to keep it up to 15 minutes a week, because otherwise people will say, oh God, you got them again. No, 15 minutes. It's been great interviewing you guys on DeFi.
I haven't heard anyone say that. It's always great to hear Eric Boo speak.
No, but we have to be
I've seen how people hang on his every word when I've seen them in live public. So nobody's actually saying that, Annemieke.
Yeah, no, the thing is, I think we've done a great job on talking on DeFi. I already can give a little bit away that we're going to do a next report on DeFi, as we call it, or decentralized finance. It's going to be a major topic during the coming year, because there's going to be so much development in that area, coping with all the changes in the market. So I want to thank you both, and see you next week, guys.